I've been invited to talk a little bit about holding space and recovery. What does it do to us to be accompanying people in pain? And then how do we recover? What I'd like to do is share a few of my strategies that have worked for me. If anything I share can be included in your strategy, it's a huge win. So I want to start with giving you a couple of examples of times where I realized that I needed to learn some new skills, some new ways of thinking, some new ways of providing care. One group of kids that I worked with, and I worked with the kids and the parents mostly, are kids with brain tumors. And early in my work with pediatric spiritual care, I spent a lot of time with kids who had just had brain surgery, and they would have these huge cuts that would make an S, and they were stapled together. And when I started, I had such a hard time seeing that. And I remember, I think it was like the third month I was there, I was really wondering, can I do this work? And one of my favorite RNs, Aaron, took me aside and said, "Hal, you got to stop looking at the scar. You got to look in their eyes. That's where they are." Brilliant, absolute brilliant. And I can say that within a matter of a few months, I didn't even notice the scars. I mean, I'd notice them, but I kind of trained myself to focus in on the person and to care for what their eyes and their face was expressing. The second one, which is more about being in the midst of trauma, I would be called when a child is actively dying. And some of the children I knew from the years of work with them, and others would be brand new to me. But I developed relationships with certain doctors that I know I could trust in those settings, and they would see me as an asset, as someone who could really help the child and help the parents. So I got called to the ICU knowing that this was end-of-life care. And one of my favorite docs was there, and she said, "Hal, do you know this family?" And I had met them before, but I didn't know them well. And I went into the room, and here was a young adolescent who is a person with developmental disabilities, who had solid tumor disease and was on life support. And the family was in the process of working with the docs to let this child die. There was no solution. They had had multiple surgeries, and this was a really hard experience, obviously, for everyone, for the nurses, for the family members, for me. And so I enter into that space, and I realize that what I'm watching happen is so close to my heart, because I have a child with disabilities. And all of these fears and emotions became present in that moment for me. And I said to my favorite doc. I said, I have to step out for a minute. And I stepped out. I went to the little nurse's desk, and I wept like a baby. And I had a couple of nurses come beside me and say, you know, can I help you out? And I kind of recollected myself and went back in the room. This beautiful young guy was in the process of dying. And I asked the family members to talk about who he was, because I didn't know him that well, or who he is. And the mom was saying, you know, the thing I'm going to miss the most is his hugs. And talked about how he had so much joy and how he loved to hug the people he loved. And I asked 3 nurses and 2 doctors to help me give Mom her goodbye hug. Had Mom get into the bed. We all held a limb and repositioned all the support gear, and it took 6 of us to wrap his arms around his mom, and then his dad, and then his brothers, and then his sister, and then his aunt. I share that story to say that being with people in pain brings up our own pain. It brings up our own fears. And as we see someone else grieving, we join them with our own. So now I want to shift to, so how do we recover from that? I'm going to go through a couple of things. First is to know yourself, to be curious about how you reacted. I thought and talked for quite a bit about how powerful that first experience was for me in this ICU room. And I was curious because those are real fears that I've carried for years. And now I see it, it's not mine, it's theirs. But it helped me reflect on my own fearfulness. So knowing yourself, know what you have to offer someone, know when you can't offer anything. Part of my ritual was on my way to the hospital, I'd drive past one of my favorite lakes and I'd ask myself the same question every day, every shift. What do you have to offer today, Hal? Is this going to be one of the days where you kind of hang around the office and try to look busy? Or is this going to be a day where you get involved in people's lives and their pain and see if I can be on the plus side? Secondly, if my people are good with me, and by my people, I mean the closest people that I love in this world, if those relationships are solid, oh my goodness, I have a safety net. If they're not good, I can't do this work. So I would always kind of have a self-check about, am I good with my loved ones? Third, support from people who know this kind of work. This is why we have a network, an ELCA youth ministry network. It's because we need people who know what it's like to do the work that we're struggling with. So I need chaplains that have done pediatric care and know how to help and support, how to recover. Number, what am I on, 3 or 4? I don't know, whatever. I'm a big fan of mentors. I've had 4 mentors in my life. My current one is an RCA retired pastor. Mentors are the ones who can ask questions like, what are you learning emotionally about yourself? How can you become more gracious with your own process of discovering who you are and who this divine and human relationship is with you and Jesus? If you don't have a mentor, highly recommend it. Lastly, I just want to share that we participate in our own hopefulness. We really do. Hope doesn't just come and fly into our hearts. We participate in our ability to hold hope. And for me, a couple things work. I'll note the very first thing I said is be good with the people that mean the most to you in this world. Secondly, I always have something in the calendar, something I'm looking forward to this weekend, something this month that I can't wait to have happen, something that comes summer, oh my goodness, I am gonna fish a lot in Montana. Have that discipline of having things in your future that give you joy. That's part of how I think we can do this difficult work. God bless you. If you're struggling, you're not alone. If you don't have a mentor and want one, start talking to people in the network. Start talking to people that can have your best in mind and challenge you. Thank you for caring for people in pain. God bless.